Those that are in favor of giving NTN 60 seconds, say aye. Those that have a contrary opinion, say no. NTN, I think the noes have it. I think the noes have it.
You're certainly ahead of yourself, Cletus. Let us stand, let us pray. For those who are Catholics among us, you may wish to cross yourself. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we give thanks for life and the gifts of life, especially the gifts of reason and intuition, that we may be able to make more sense of our world, enjoy it, and protect the sustainability of our physical environment. We give thanks for GEF and the work that's been doing in protecting the sustainability of our environment and the alleviation of poverty in our midst. We give particular thanks to those who have served and continue to serve GEF selflessly and dedicatedly. May they continue to do so that GEF remains a platform for innovation and entrepreneurship among our young people. We pray that today's proceedings will be conducted in a smooth and effective manner, and that by the end of it, we may be encouraged to lend even greater support to GEF and its pursuits of its worthy objectives. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I ask you to remain standing, please, as I invite Ms. Rosemary Matra to lead us in the national anthem.
Sons and daughters of St. Lucia, love the land that gave us birth, land of beaches, hills and valleys, fairest oil of all the earth. Wheresoever you may roam, love, oh love, our island. Nations battled for this Helen of West. Gone the days when strife and discord dimmed her children's toil and rest. Dawns at last a brighter day, stretches out a glad new way. May the good Lord bless our island, guard our sons from war and harm. May our people live united, strong in soul, strong in arm. Justice, truth, and charity, our ideal forever be.
Thank you. Be seated. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the National Steering Committee of the Global Environment Facility to welcome you all to this ceremony or event which marks the 11th anniversary of the GEF Small Grants Program in St. Lucia. Honorable Minister Sean Andre Edward, Minister of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science and Technology, and Vocational Training. His Grace Archbishop Kelvin Felix, I'm sorry, His Grace Archbishop Gabriel Malzer, Dame Calliope Luisi, Governor General Emerita, Ambassador Peter Chen, Mr. Ember Charles, Chairperson of the National Steering Committee of the GEF, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this event, as I said earlier. I want to note what you might have thought was an anomaly. Granted that we have His Grace with us and Pastor Stephen, that the invocation was delivered by Reverend Jean-Marie. I think you might take that as an indication of Everestus's standing in the Roman Catholic Church. As I said, I will try to ensure that we make up some time in the event, so I want, without much ado, to invite my good friend, Mr. Ember Charles, who's the chairperson of the NSC, to deliver some welcome remarks.
Is to try to turn simple initiatives in communities, make them into noble programs, and of course get tremendous outcomes out of them. So in your report, you would realize that we have turned simple things like grating farine into cassava processing. We have turned the description of footpaths and hikes into trails. And we have been doing work, a lot of work, with the community who normally produce honey and going into the byproducts of honey, such as epitoxins. But in addition to this, GEF is helping to increase and improve the capacity of the communities who do that work. So our report will give you a detailed description in addition to the statistics of our outputs, and our national coordinator is very fond of statistics. We try to focus on ensuring that we bring out the innovative potential of all St. Lucians, and GEF has been supporting a lot of work on inventions which lead to solutions to our problems which face us today. We try to encourage critical thinking. We try to encourage communities to go back to the resources and look at the resources in new ways. We take this opportunity today to thank all the members of the NSC who have worked with us since the inception of the program in St. Lucia over a decade ago. Some of us are here, some of them are here with us. But also to welcome the young people who received you this morning, who are the transition and the future of our program. Perhaps in the next few years, I'm sure, one or two of them will become members and probably even lead the National Steering Committee. We also want to take the opportunity to thank the government of St. Lucia. I was hoping the minister would hear this while he was here, but it will be recorded, for the tremendous cooperation through the work that all the related agencies are doing with us. Department of Innovation, Ministry of Sustainable Development, Ministry of Agriculture, Education, and many others. With these very brief remarks, Mr. Chair, I would like to once again welcome everyone to this special event and hope that you leave here fulfilled. And I invite you as well to view and share with the exhibitors outside who will be here throughout the course of the day. Thank you very much, and again, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you noted, the GEF Small Grants Program, which I consider to be one of St. Lucia's best kept secrets. The amazing work that the GEF has done over its life in the country is just outstanding, and it's an honor to be associated with the GEF. I think when the history of the sustainable development movement in St. Lucia is written, it is inevitable that the name Giles Romulus will feature prominently in that history. I want to ask you, before we invite Giles to join us, to applaud his inestimable contribution to the conservation movement in St. Lucia, to the sustainable development of St. Lucia, for his selfless contribution, the many long days and nights that he has put in. And Giles, thank you on behalf of all of us. I invite you to join us and present your report.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this presentation of the triennial report for the Small Grants Program in St. Lucia. I would accept the protocol and welcome the Honorable Minister, who fittingly has all the important portfolios in his long job description that is summarized in the GEF Small Grants Program. So how fitting so that you are here today. Trinidad was not to be, St. Lucia was. My good friend Barrymore, PS in Agriculture, Ambassador, welcome. Friends, our faith-based organizations, represented by the senior officials of those organizations. Our colleagues, long-time colleagues in the environmental movement, members of the National Steering Committee, ladies and gentlemen. 3 years ago, when we adjourned at this very place, nobody had heard of COVID. We left with an excitement that we'll be back in this very place the following year. Unfortunately, this is not to be. We are in our 3rd year where we have not presented a report to the government and people of St. Lucia. For this, I apologize, but today we intend to give you a full synopsis of what we have done, what we are doing, and what we intend to do. The table of contents of our presentation today, we will give you a basic introduction to the GEF so you can understand how we operate. We'll talk a little bit about the country program strategy, which is the framework within which we operate and has to be approved both locally and at the UN. We give you the context in which we work over the 3 years that we have been here. Then we'll go into the results section of the presentation with the investment, the quantitative aspect of the investment, and then the qualitative results, which are important for, if we're talking sustainable development, some conclusions, and we'll end with questions and discussions from all of you. I hope the presentation will stimulate you and make you become even greater patriots of this Helen of the West Indies. I'm unashamedly a patriot of St. Lucia, born, bred, raised. And what we do with the sweat of thy brow, to bring this country to heights unreached before. In fact, I always say I love the old Star Trek saying, to boldly go where no person has gone before. I want St. Lucia to boldly go where no country has gone before. And in this presentation, I hope that you will understand why I say this. The GEF Small Grants Program, established in 1992, at the Earth Summit in Brazil, currently has 127 countries. So we basically in almost every country, least developed country in the world, small island developing state. We are part of the family of the GEF globally. As you know, there's the big GEF for over $1 million. There is the medium GEF up to $1 million, and there's a small grants program that goes up to $50,000 for most projects, and from time to time, strategic project window over $150,000. I must tell you, in parts of the world where the GEF Small Grants Program has worked for many, many more years than St. Lucia, particularly in Africa, we are known as the People's GEF. And I hope one day Solutions will recognize us as the People's GEF. GEF SGP UNDP is implemented by the United Nations Development Program and executed by the United Nations Office of Project Services. That tells you the complexity of reporting that I have to do. 2 different organizations from 2 different parts of the UN. But the Small Grants Program globally, over the last 31 years, has implemented over 27,000 projects in 127 countries, $1.67 billion of investment. And we have implemented those projects in the GEF focal areas of biodiversity conservation, climate change mitigation and adaptation, protection of international waters, prevention of land degradation, sustainable forest management, and chemicals and waste. A basic structure, again, to tell you the complexity in which I work. The World Bank is where the GEF is located. That's the source of the funds. UNDP is the implementing agency. UNOPS is the executing agency. From within the UN system, we have the Central Program Management Team, which I report directly to. And within a region or country, there's a UNDP country team, usually led by the resident representative, and you're going to be seeing her later presenting. And in each country, there's an SGP country program that's led, in this case, by two persons, Stephanie and myself. And then we have the National Steering Committee of volunteers, wholly volunteers, giving the effort, giving the time, and being harassed continuously by me. And I'm sure members, including Dame, will miss me when they leave for my constant harassment of their assistants. Thank you very much. The country program strategy is the document we formulate every 4 years after consultation with the government of St. Lucia, civil society organizations, bilateral and multilateral donors. That document brings together the main areas of focus for the period in question, and we in GEF 7 at this time. It also forms the framework for monitoring and evaluation as well. And of course, where I was reading the document from the WHO, and they were saying 20 years before 2004, they had discovered that the chemical contents of a newly born child was something like 50 times that of children born in the 50 years before. So if that was so bad then, I will not tell you what the chemical composition of our bloodstreams are today. The amount of toxic chemicals we have in the environment, in our water, in our soils, in the air. That is worrying. That is critically worrying. And when you talk to our oncologist in St. Lucia, he will tell you the complexity of cancers he's seen across the east coast of St. Lucia and also from children. We also have cross-cutting themes identified for St. Lucia: research and innovation, very important, education and awareness, gender, capacity building, alternative livelihoods, and social inclusion. The CPS is approved at 2 levels, nationally by the National Steering Committee, of which the government of St. Lucia has a representative, and also by the team at the UN in New York. I was talking about COVID. COVID is the context in which we operated for the last 3 years. The first recorded case of COVID in St. Lucia was on the 13th March 2020. And that by the 30th of June 2020, we had 19 cases. By December 2020, we had 353 cases and 5 deaths by the end of 2020. The World Bank, in a study of St. Lucia at that time, noted that 65.2% of our households experienced a decline in wage employment. 63.3% households reported reduced assistance. 57.9% of households reported a decrease in international assistance remittances from abroad. And of course, the impact on our students. We may have affected them in ways we are yet to document. And I hope we can catch up, Mr. Minister, somehow by helping those students who have not been able to catch up. But that is a worrying thing to us. The socioeconomic context in which we worked during COVID for St. Lucia, you will notice that the debt to GDP ratio for St. Lucia did not vary significantly in that period. What happened is there was a 24.4% decline in real GDP growth in 2020, and we're still trying to recover from that. You notice unemployment in St. Lucia was for the youth was still around 38.69%. And the poverty statistics we had put it at 28.8% based on the last study that was done. The homicide rate was also very concerning to us because as persons going into the field around St. Lucia, we are concerned. And we saw that the homicide rate increased right through from 2019 to 2022, where it was about 41 per 100,000 persons. And we were rivaling Trinidad and Tobago, that was at 39.4 per 100,000 in 2022. It's a scourge that we have, and I think it will take all of us to address this problem once and for all. That was the context. But climate change remains the universal issue for St. Lucia. And I want to go over some of the statistics because there's one in particular I want to highlight. In 2020, the World Meteorological Organization had already documented a 1.2 degrees Celsius rise in global temperature. And in 2021-22, 1.11 degrees Celsius, 1.15 degrees Celsius increased. But this third one there in that should have been 2022, not 2022, rain was experienced for the first time at the highest point on the Greenland ice sheet. Rain was experienced for the first time on the highest point of the Greenland ice sheet. You know what that means? It means temperatures had to increase to allow evapotranspiration to occur, for the molecules of the air to expand and absorb that water. And then it becomes concentrated, and as the temperature falls, rain falls. Unprecedented in the history, on the highest point in the Greenland ice sheet. When you see that, you know, no atwaka, we are in serious trouble. The Hurricane Elsa, we know the impacts it on our farmers. I'm sure Barrymore will tell you and speak endlessly about it. $12.59 million worth of damage in 2020. The Human Development Index in St. Lucia was affected by our economic growth, and we fell from 89th to 106 by 2021-22, and we're hoping in the future this can be changed. But let's go to the project results. While all of this was happening and the climate change and the homicide rate and so on, we at the GEF were continuing along our way. In 2020, we funded 11 projects. In 2021, we saw approximately 80% decline to 5. And in 2022, we had almost a 350% increase to 13. And that brought our total number of projects funded in St. Lucia since 2012 to 127. The total investment at the end of 22 was $9.44 million US. And our SGP investment was $3.71 million US. And the co-funding we were able to attract, if you look at the co-funding ratio, it was an average of 1 to 1.54, meaning that for every $1 we invest in St. Lucia, it was attracting $1.54. And that is from the government sources, private sector, bilateral donors, multilateral donors, and so on. That, by any standard, is very good. It's like putting $1 into an investment, and every year you're getting 154 back. And if you had $1 million, you know what that would be. Ladies and gentlemen, the income to communities reached $1.12 million at the end of 2022. Employment continues, though most of it is short-term. You will notice 100 persons in 2020 were employed, 90 in 2021, 51 in 2022. And the number of persons trained remained quite high. The demand, the need remained high even through the COVID period. So Just Small Grants program, we're not only about the quality of the environment, but also about the social and economic development of our people. Bread for survival today, but sustainability for tomorrow. Continuing, just these maps represent the spatial spread of projects in St. Lucia. I want to go to the last one, the one on the right. This represents the cumulative number of projects in St. Lucia since 2012. Notice in this map, you see the majority of projects on the northwest, west, southwest coast. We don't have many in the valley, sir. We don't have many in Miku. And we have a situation there. We have visited, for example, we have done presentations. At one time, Prale was like a big star on the East Coast for us. But projects in the recently has been hard in coming from those areas. And this is something we are going to have to do with help from our extension officers and our SDOs in St. Lucia. But we are, as you can see, we are almost in every part of St. Lucia implementing projects. The Canaries landscape is one of the landscape where we invested in because of the high biodiversity there, the high poverty rate there, and issues of unemployment. But we have a difficulty there. We dedicated $300,000 worth for investment in Canaries since 2015. Only 33% of that has been used to date. Only 33%. And yet Canaries remain an area in need. Why? We even commissioned a study by Dr. Jean-Baptiste to find out what is happening in Canaries. And of course, the problem is the number of viable, strong civil society organizations willing to take up the challenge to implement the projects. And that remains a challenge. And until such time as we can get more organizations functioning. Now, for us in St. Lucia, you need not be a resident in the community. You can be from any part of St. Lucia and dedicate the project to Canaries. It could be Canarians living in Cape State or Canarians living in Castries who want to do projects in the community. We would be delighted to fund those projects. Right now, we have a project with ICA in that community, and we really want to see some transformational work in Canaries. At the end of 2022. And in a small community, that's significant. And when that project ended, the group was acquired land for the construction of a small honey processing plant, but the challenge still remains too few civil society organizations operational in Canaries. to do projects in the middle stages of the river and to do projects in the upper watershed. And therefore, because of that, welcome, Minister. Thank you for coming. And because of that, we have invested over $480,000 in Soufriere. Some of the results. Lionfish was plagued in Soufriere. We funded the Lions Club, and they were able to buy new equipment and to teach people how to use the lionfish in Soufriere. And that, of course, increased the number of lionfish dishes on the restaurant menus in Soufriere. The capture of the lionfish, of course, is an invasive species. The assessments, the financial assessments done on the amount of resources or income from the trail was quite impressive. Quite a lot of money is being made on that Go-Pito trail, but not much is coming into the Fort-Jalib community. And we were able to show that. And it is almost a situation where there's a lot of extraction that is invested in other parts of Soufriere. And the people of Fort-Jalib want a bigger stake in the investment, in the income that is coming into Soufriere. And that project demonstrated that some decisive action will have to be taken. In Soufriere, because of the effluence from piggeries, we were able to fund 3 biodigesters, which reduced the effluence going into the Soufriere River. That's a major source of worry for us. And as part of that project, we were able to do GIS mapping of all the pig farms in the watershed of Soufriere. That is going to be a major task for us in the future. And we are talking to the OACS to see if there's a project coming on stream to do some more biogas digesters. 11 persons were trained in water quality monitoring, so we can keep up the monitoring of the water quality. And at Fort Saint-Jacques, we have the now famous and growing in fame agritourism park by the Fort Saint-Jacques Development Committee. I must tell you, this is a 4-year project in the making. And what has happened there is a major step by the government of St. Lucia, a devolution of authority from the government that has now come to the people of Fort Saint-Jacques to co-manage the site. And I will tell you, Fort Saint-Jacques Development Committee, we gave them $121,000 as an upscale project. They have now attracted in excess of $200,000 from the Inter-American Fund, from USAID, from Canary, and from the private sector. Fort Saint-Jacques is an example worthy of emulation, and Ms. Sandra Prosper, for her leadership, will receive a citation from the UN today. The letter was signed with the ministry for the devolution of authority, and in this year, an MOU was signed. We also completed an energy audit of the Soufriere Fisheries Cooperative. That audit told us that if we fully solarize the cooperative, we'd reduce their payment to Low Select by about 47%. They were spending something like $10,000 EC, per month on electricity. So this has a inclusion component, and when it is completed, we will not only have reduced carbon footprint, we would have reduced the cost of electricity to them, but we would have made sure our fishers have a pension for the rest of their lives. Some photos of the projects we have. But we also funded projects outside canneries and Soufriere. Let's call them projects outside the selected landscapes. And we were able to invest $1.25 million in those, in 20 projects outside canneries and Soufriere. We will present those results in what we call the GEF focal areas. honey production, apiculture. If there's one project that has grown in strength in St. Lucia since we arrived in St. Lucia, since I returned in St. Lucia to open this project, this program, is apiculture. We were approached, I remember, in the very second week of opening office by officers of the Ministry of Agriculture and told us, look, apiculture is dying, it's entered the doldrums, do something about it. Our first two projects in St. Lucia were projects in apiculture. One was the Millflow Honey Producers Cooperative, the other one with the Choiseul Disabled Association. And since then, we have funded approximately 17 projects in apiculture, approximately $1.2 million US dollars worth of investment. And this is beginning to show the results. So one of the things we've done is to integrate science and technology into apiculture. No longer are we satisfied with the low-hanging fruit of just honey. We are going up the value chain to the top wherever that leads, and we will bring the benefits back to our people in St. Lucia. One of the successful experiments is the extraction of apitoxins. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 gram of apitoxin is 100 US, Mr. Minister. 1 gram, 100 US. So we tested it. We exported 30 grams. We got $3,000 US dollars back, one of our projects. So it's working. The pharmaceutical industry in the world, they want apitoxins. And if we can master the technology, and only one group is doing that now, Annual Apiculture Collective, we can almost replace the banana industry. How many tons of bananas will it take? If I have 1 pound or maybe 10 gallons of apitoxins, we may have to significantly increase the number of apiaries in St. Lucia to get that. But we can make apiculture have a greater impact on the economy in St. Lucia. And everything we say, we are proving it with projects first, and then we are telling you how to do it. So we're not telling you to jump and then fall. We are doing it, we are proving it can work, and then we are advising you to do it. The annual honey show is now a fix on the calendar. Every December now, we have had it for the last 2 years, and we're hoping very soon this will involve our brothers and sisters from the other OECS countries. We have brought in technology, remote monitoring in hives. The way I explain that is that if you get up on a Saturday morning and you have 40 hives somewhere, and you say, darling, I'm not getting up today, you pull your smartphone and you switch it on to your smart indicator, and it will tell you what your hives are doing. The melody of the bees tell you everything that is happening in the hive. Ask Richard Matthias, he'll tell you. You just have to listen. You will know if they're about to escape, or if the production has reached maximum, or if there is some problem there, and you can go specifically to the hive. So we are bringing technology to integrate it into the apiculture industry in St. Lucia. Apitourism, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, apitourism. We have an experiment at VG where persons from the cruise lines, together with Cox and Company, are actually participating in apitours. A number of tours were done in the last tourist season, and it's going on, and it is bringing an income to one of our grantees. And we want to continue that, and we want to spread it through St. Lucia. People are interested. I think Ambassador would remember that we took him to one of our learning centers, and he did a candle, right? I may ask you, where's that candle? Mine is still home. My wife is burning it 15 minutes every night. A beautiful candle made out of scented wax and so on. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to learn about that, please consider that to be an area you can go. And of course, many byproducts from the apiaries are being introduced into St. Lucia. I will come back to apiculture in the South-South project because we are being so confident now, we are now beginning to export our expertise to the OECS. Mr. Chairman, I want you to look at this very carefully. If you look carefully, I'm about to play you a video. We have invested recently in a high definition documentary for St. Lucia. We wanted to, anything that's a problem?
In the Caribbean Sea, there's a land only exists and it's not there. It makes us know of the wildlife that lives within the shore. No,
We intend to launch this documentary in October. Mr. Minister, bow tie and red carpet. So order your bow ties, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be red carpet at the Caribbean Cinema. It's going to be an hour and a half long, and we intend to use it to promote St. Lucia internationally. You can see the quality of this locally produced, and many hours was spent, midnight hours was spent in Kaides and Novet and Gratas and Titas with sticks around and so on. First time a solution group, is Daniel there? Daniel, who is, yes, one of the producers, Linda John, former St. Lucia's wildlife expert. And thank you, Lyndon. We are going to promote this globally, and we are going to use it. And we don't want people to copy it, you know. We wanted people to buy it so that the investment can be returned in conservation work in St. Lucia. Coming to you very soon. That's in biodiversity. Another area is climate change mitigation. In the community of Grace, we have the first bottling plant and also honey processing plant by the Horizon Brothers. It is fully solarized. Ladies and gentlemen, when I saw the statistics from that 2 months ago, I thought I would write my letter of resignation. Why? The electricity bill had gone down by 90%. The profits had gone up by 70%. And when I saw the bank statement, I was telling John, you know, we have something good going there. And if you go to Grace, you will see the Horizon Brothers. I think you all should take a bow. John, stand up and take a bow there. Okay, the Rastafarian Brothers from Grace. Yes, welcome. They'll be recognized suitably today, and it is fully solarized. And we're going to use solar energy as a primary source of energy for a lot of our agro-processing plants very soon. We also completed the energy audit for the Suffolk Cooperative, Fishers Cooperative, that was completed, and we are able, and we are in the implementation of the project now to solarize that cooperative. The Folk Research Center did some work for us on the SDGs, where they indigenized it and they translated it into Creole. So for those who want copies, they can be found at the Folk Research Center and also at our office. The Goodwill Fishers and Invictus with GEF created a tripartite partnership. The idea is, could we produce a FAD, a fishing aggregate device that would not get lost? Because one of the problems with our traditional FADs is from time to time they get lost and they go and ghost fishing. So we say, can we do a FAD? But what can that FAD do in addition to just causing fish to assembly? Well, that FAD would have sensors in it that will tell us the water temperature, the salinity of the water, wave height, species type, species density. It would have collision avoidance systems on it, and it will have a geofencing system in it. And it would be communicated with satellites in real time. So when I send Mr. Everest to fish for me, when he wishes on the boat, he's not going to waste his time. He checks his smartphone. Oh, what are the coordinates of the FAD? He checks it, goes straight there, and come back. Meanwhile, the Met Office is pulling data in real time from this FAD. Here is an example. This is the first prototype tested by Invictus, and I want the persons who are, oh, by the way, recently in Dubai, they won an international award. They came 15th out of over 11,000 applicants. Said Lucia, we have the brain power. So, goodwill officials, please stand. Invictus, Madame et Monsieur, levez-vous, s'il vous plaît. Okay. These partnerships can work when we get the right configuration. It works, and this puts St. Lucia on the map. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The Prime Minister of Barbados saw it at an exhibition recently. I hear she's talking about ordering 6, and she called the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and said, "You all have to put money in that." So, point God, Sagale Blas. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if we tap into the genius of our people, we give them the right environment, we encourage them, there is no heaven we can't reach, there's no mountain we can't climb, there's no river we cannot traverse. We are going places, and let us do it together. The genius of our people must be discovered and fully developed. Ladies and gentlemen, in land degradation, at Beausoleil in Choiseul, we are working with a group there, and for the first time, you're going to see a fully integrated farm. They're producing their own biofertilizers, they're producing their own compost tea, they're producing their own chocolate. I see Mr. Springer is admiring the morphology of a cocoa plant. His smile is something I've wondered what he was thinking of when he was looking at it. Mushrooms as well. Mushrooms is a high value product. They're producing mushrooms as well. You can get cocoa tea and so on. Visitors will be welcome there very soon, and this project will be open to the people of St. Lucia, visitors to St. Lucia. We have integrated the bioeconomy principles into that farm, and ICA is heading that project, and we are very pleased with what we see so far. The cassava processing plant is fully operational now. The Prime Minister was there for the opening ceremony. I see the president of the workers' union is there, a cooperative is there, and we hope that the exports and sales from that cassava plant will grow and grow. It is one plant we are looking forward to solarizing in GEF 8. At the Larry Seuss Primary School, our first faith-based organization project was implemented. We fenced up the school, we gave them an organic farm, we solarized the external lighting system, we gave them an aquaponics system, and we asked them to integrate it into the syllabus. The Larry Seuss, the evangelicals, I think they call themselves, was the first group to come to us in the faith-based organization, and that I understood is working quite well as well in Larry Seuss, Beaufort. At the Kelvin Felix Archdiocesan Pastoral, a place up in Marisel, we funded a green plan, and it's going to look at rainwater harvesting, energy reduction and conservation, apiculture, trails, and training for young people in the Marisel, or what we can call the Cassis to Grosley conurbation. I see, as Bishop Kelvin, there you go. Because you did that to me, you know. We will get it one day, sir. We will get it. Yes, confession on Saturday for me. Miles there, and Archbishop did marriage encounter with me, so I should not have, with me and my wife and a few other persons. So anyway, this grid plan we're hoping will create a beacon and later spotlight of transformation in that Cassius to Grosley conurbation for St. Lucia. Climate change adaptation. I want to give a little story about this project up in La Maz and Monzi in the hills of Choiseul and so on. I see Doc Series there, our photographer is there because he can vouch for that. The people up at La Maz and Monzi were getting water once a week on a Sunday for half an hour. When we went there and we understood what was happening, not only that was bad for health, but in a post-disaster context, that was serious. Mr. Doc Siri explained to me that he went there one Sunday and he was setting up the meeting and people came into the community center and they started to work. Somebody came to the window and said, "Water come." Doc Siri said he has never seen a community center evacuated as quickly as that. They came back 45 minutes later, sorry sir, but water. So we went in there and we gave 27 households between 800 and 1,000 gallons of water, and everybody has a 50-day guaranteed supply in a post-disaster context. That is adaptation, ladies and gentlemen. That is adaptation. Chemicals and waste coming soon. The most advanced aquaponics facility will be in Vieux Fort soon. Vieux Fort, we come in. The national body for disabled people, represented by Mophilis. It's a gentleman, stand up Mophilis. I love to recognize Mophilis' leadership in a disabled community. When Mophilis came to us, he looked at the projects we did in aquaponics and said, "Sir, we cannot go on a trial basis on this one. We have to be dead right." So I said, "Okay, take a planning grant and do the research." And he came back and found a reasonably cost system from California, which he is installing in Vieux Fort. And believe me, when it is done, we will get organic vegetables, fruits, and fish. This, we hope, will be a Class 1, Priority 1 aquaculture project for St. Lucia, and we'll be able to replicate it during GEF 8. At Grace in Babono, the Seventh-day Adventist group, we are doing some work there that has an interesting background. The farmer almost died from cancer. In fact, he went to Martinique and they were counting the days. He told me in a personal testimony, me puidi. And he made, I would say, almost a covenant with God and said, "If you let me live, I will devote the rest of my life to finding non-toxic chemicals in farming." Apparently God heard him and he was saved. He returned and started to experiment, and he experimented and he came up with a concoction that farmers cannot get enough of. The testimonials we have, if we were investing in projects based on testimonials, we'd have done the project a long time ago. But we have asked our agronomists on our National Steering Committee, Mr. Julius Polius, who is the former Director of Agriculture, you all will know him, he's a soil scientist, to do some testing of the product to find out the active chemical ingredients, to know what percentages should be added so we can have a stable product. As soon as that is done, ladies and gentlemen, Pastor, as soon as this is done, we'll be coming to build that processing plant for biostimulants in Laguas. And we hope we can export that biostimulant based on the efficacy that our farmers tell us that is happening. In international waters, colleagues and friends, there's a young group of men and women who have been struggling for the last few years to get a project in lobster farming in the coastal zone in Vieux Fort. Only recently, they were able to get the permission of 1,600 square meters of seabed to do lobster farming. Lobster is a high-end product. I mean, if you sell lobster to the Martinicans, you can get a lot of money for that and the hotels. So we are happy that the designs are completed, the studies were done by the end of December, and this project is about to be launched. And I dare say we are going to have to use a lot of advanced sensors to avoid predial larceny, because we suspect that this is going to be an issue once we start to produce the lobsters. And people will come in the dead of the night. But the technology, I hope, will help the brothers and sisters of Yufon. South-South project in apiculture, and I want to deal with this a little bit because we have learned so much since 2012 in apiculture that we decided to compete within the UN system for $150,000. Not only were we overconfident in ourselves, we invited 6 other countries to come with us: Trinidad, Grenada, St. Vincent, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and Samoa in the Pacific. We won. We got $150,000, and we started to implement the project. COVID comes, bam, affected us. What do we do? So a number of agencies, including South Louis Community College, Chairman, the University of West Indies, at Trinidad, St. Augustine, Ionola Apiculture Collective, the Association of Beekeepers of the Caribbean, came together and created an online basic beekeeping course with 17 modules, everything from basic ecology to gender and apiculture. At close of business on December 31st, 2022, we had over 100 persons who had graduated from that course. Today, it's over 250, and the 3rd cohort is now in training. And I want Richard Matthias, where's Richard? Richard to stand up for leading that project. Richard has done significant work. So anybody, any one of you who want to become apiculturist, a honey producer, we have a little institute at VG, or you can do it online, and you can be mentored by people like Richard. Besides, Richard is the only solution with a master beekeeping certification from Cornell University. And I'm going to put my PS friend on standby. We need some money in the national budget to send a few other people to Cornell. And it can be done long distance as well. We need more master beekeepers because the long-term plan we have for St. Lucia is to make us the center of excellence for apiculture in the OECS. Center of excellence, Mr. Minister. Please convey that to the Honorable Prime Minister, and I'll tell you why. Mr. Chair, another thing we have done, we are also training persons in the OECS. In fact, John Frederick from Ancillary is now in Dominica training people in the Kalinago territory on advanced apiculture, queen rearing. Richard lives next week, I think, to continue the training. So this $150,000 we won. We went beyond our boundary to Trinidad, Tobago, up the archipelago, and we also bought materials and equipment and exported it to those countries. In the aftermath of the volcanic eruption, we were the first to send equipment and materials to apiculture to St. Vincent. Take note, St. Lucia, here we come. Then the next important thing we are doing with our proactive programming is to bring to St. Lucia Mali, the Makoti Apiculture Research and Learning Institute. You have the conceptual drawings to my left and my right. We have done the business plan, we have done the designs, we have presented it to the DCA, we have received approval in principle, they have asked us for an environmental impact and social assessment. We have completed that and submitted it to them last week. So we are waiting for a final decision from DCA, and based on the estimates, we're looking for $8 million to invest in the Makoti Apiculture Research and Learning Institute. What will it do? You know, the space agency in the US has something. Houston, we have a problem. It's going to be Vieux Fort. We have an intent for your development to become the Center for Research and Innovation in St. Lucia. We are going to have those shipped buildings will have research centers for coral reefs and mangroves, for apiculture, testing our honey to ensure fake honey does not enter St. Lucia. 33% of the honey in the world now is fake. And I can tell you, I will bring you 2 bottles of honey, and you have a 50% chance of telling me which one is fake, and you will not be able to do that. So this is going to be not only for research in that area, it's going to have gastronomic research, and we are going to have a center for science, technology, art, mathematics, and so on. So this is going to put St. Lucia in the forefront. International, community-based management of areas. Up in Fort Jacques, you will soon have an agritourism park led by people like Sandra Prosper. Sandra, where's Sandra? Sandra is outside. Hi, Sandra, at the back. I call her the Prime Minister of Fort Jacques. I'm sorry. And she's a lady who leads there. The Deputy Prime Minister is fond of Fort Jacques, believe me. And this, when it is completed, you'll have nature trails, camping, cabins, bed and breakfast, massage therapy near waterfalls, gastronomic delights and farm-to-table, community festivals, research, education, and more. Fort Jacques is going to lead us in community tourism, and we are going to do it with the strategic grant and the IEF funding. Knowledge products, in the last few years, we have funded the Luminaries publication. We also have done a baseline on apiculture in the OECS, and we have produced leaflets and documents on the project cycle and simplified documents on the GEF focal areas. In conclusion, we have learned that our future programming must transition from being reactive to being both reactive and proactive if we are to help avert the pending environmental disasters. We shall therefore be guided by the following. We are going to upscale our programming from just one project to landscape level type programming. So we'll take a landscape like Soufre or Miku or Canaries and begin adapting our lessons learned to those. We are also going to be upscaling to beyond the $150,000 mark when we start to speak to our bilateral partners. Value chain development is going to be paramount for us, and research and innovation is going to be a constant refrain. This island of St. Lucia must go beyond just accepting primary production levels. We have to move up that value chain. If we don't do that, crop will smoke our pipes. CCM as both, we'll be using alternative energy as both a source of low-cost electricity, but also reducing our carbon footprint. Strategic partnerships will continue, and we'll also be promoting co-management in a big way. And of course, our knowledge products will increase for circulating locally and internationally. At one time in my life, I used to be one of those who believed that science would solve all our problems. And then I had my experience in postgrad, and I came back, and nowadays, I feel a deficiency in my learning. I really felt that I should have done philosophy when I was at St. Mary's. And there was no offering of philosophy at the time. But now I'm reading more and more philosophy books. So I end with 2 quotations. The preamble to the Constitution of the UNESCO declares, that was written in 1948, since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men, and let's say women again, women as well, that the defenses of peace must be constructed. The thought goes before the action. We have to influence the thought. But the Aquinian philosophy is what has touched me recently. To will the good of the other. Thomas Aquinas, to will the good of the other. That's a definition of love. How can we as countries will the good of other countries? How can we as neighbors will the good of our neighbor? How can we as friends will the good of another? This is like a constant play in my mind. How do I operationalize that in planning in the work that I do? To will the good of the other. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest. Thank you. Mr. Chair, we have some time for questions.
Can I ask you to please put your hands together again for Mr. Johnson? That really was a masterful presentation in so many respects. And there's so many takeaways from Giles's presentation, I don't really know where to start. But he made the point earlier, a conviction that he expressed, that if we tap into the genius of our people, there is no mountain we cannot climb, no river we cannot cross. And I really believe if we're looking for blueprints for the development of our country, that's where we need to go. Each of us, I've long been convinced, has in our DNAs the capacity for greatness. How do we reach into that wellspring of our creativity and greatness and bring it out? That's the challenge for St. Lucia. I believe we can do it. Look at what the GEF Small Grants Program has been able to achieve with so little. Working with ordinary people and helping them to do extraordinary things. We are, friends, we are in a dive towards the lowest common denominator in our country. And we need to stop, arrest that, reverse it, and move it in the direction that the GEF Small Grants Program is pointing us to. I'm very pleased that you are here, Minister Henry, and I acknowledge your presence. You have come at the right time, because I believe your ministry, it's coincidental that the two of you are here. Your ministry and Minister Edwards' ministries are the two most critical ministries in the government apparatus, because both of you go at the heart and soul of the person, the solution. The transformation that needs to be done there rests with your two ministries. I'm convinced of that. Okay? Now, I don't want to give I'm not going to give a speech. You don't need to worry. But Giles has just energized in me, the need to say these simple things. We need to transform, help our people to transform the simple into the noble. And Minister, I want to suggest as well that, and Prime Minister is not here, but maybe you can take the message back. And we on the National Steering Committee, we are very pleased that we have the co-funding that the government provides every year through its STAR allocations. But I believe if we ride on the coattails of the GEF Small Grants Program in St. Lucia, the victory is assured. And so when we craft the budget, I think one of the first things we need to do is look at the multipliers that we can achieve from $1 in that budget. And if we take that as the yardstick, the GEF gets the $8 million that it's looking for the research facility. There's $8 million there, I know, US. I've seen it. I know it's there, Minister. Ila, where's Avila? Okay? So, Banui, and we will do good things with it, I promise you. So, we're supposed to have had a musical interlude at this point. Abba Gauge. I don't see Abba, I don't see Gauge, so we will. Oh, he's there? So, all right, while you get your act together, what's your name, sir? Oh, Michael Fletcher. We'll come to you in a little bit. So let's do this. Let me invite, I'm trying to move things along as quickly as I can because I know, ministers, you are busy people. Let's invite Dame Calliope Paulette-Luisi and Dr. Stephen King to the podium to lead us in this phase of the proceedings. And you may not recognize Dr. King. He's to our right. He's very nattily dressed, as you can tell, all color matching and coordinating and everything.
Good morning. Moving right along, our first citation Mr. John Charlemagne. Come, John. Really good to see you this morning. Born in Saltibus, John moved to Corinth, where he learned his trade from his father-in-law. Over the last 31 years, his learning continued from attending courses organized by the Ministry of Agriculture, the GEF SGP UNDP, and other organizations. He is a founding member of the Rising Brothers, and under his leadership, the group was successful in accessing funding from the GEF SGP UNDP program. This support has led the group to be the proud owner of the only fully solarized honey bottling and processing plant in St. Lucia. For his constant pursuit of knowledge and his clarity of vision, for his dynamism for growth and development, for his never-ending search for new products, for adding to the agriculture value chain, and for his exemplary leadership. The Global Environment Facility, Small Grants Program, United Nations Development Program, St. Lucia Country Program presents the citation with grateful appreciation to John Charlemagne on this, the 6th day of July, 2023. Thank you, John. Our next citation goes to Sandra Prosper. Sandra. From the heights of Francis Jacques, there is a star, a community star. She has never lost her luster since she found her passion and direction at the age of 12. Community work was ingrained in her from her teenage years, and her education at the master's and advanced diploma levels all exemplified her penchant for community work. Her calling was teaching and community development. From the parish council to the credit union, to the daycare and sustainable development committees of her community, Sandra engaged with zeal, rising to be the quintessential woman leader. For her leadership, work in environmental conservatism, or conservation, I should say, for a development ethos that is participatory and inclusive, and for her exemplary community leadership, the GEF SGP UNDP St. Lucia Country Program presents this citation with grateful appreciation to Sandra Prosper on this 6th day of July, 2023. This last citation in this segment goes to Richard Matthias. At 18, Richard came to St. Lucia on vacation from England, enticed by a haunting desire to discover his mother's homeland. Realizing he had no saleable skills at that time, Richard returned to London, where he enrolled and earned himself qualifications in electronics and computers. Then he packed his bags and arrived in St. Lucia at 24, never to depart. Richard traversed the field of work from construction to hospitality, to accounting, to environmental health, but was never really happy. Not even high emoluments could assuage his restless spirit. Until at work, he was called to manage a beehive, and he contacted the old master, Vavan, to help him. From then, Richard's love for bees grew. Richard is recognized for integrating science into beekeeping in St. Lucia, and in the process earned himself the Master Beekeeper's Certificate from Cornell University. For his integration of science into beekeeping in St. Lucia, for managing the process that delivered the first local online training course in basic beekeeping, for his training of over 200 beekeepers in St. Lucia, as well as the Eastern and Southern Caribbean, and for his exemplary national and regional leadership. The GEF SGP UNDP St. Lucia Country Program presents this citation with grateful appreciation to Richard Matthias on this 6th day of July 2023. Thank you very much.
So we want to invite you, Minister Edward, if you join us, please, to make the presentations to the outgoing members of the National Steering Committee. Dame Paulette will do the citations, and you will present the honor, sir. Thank you.
Mrs. Norma Sherry Favrier. An incredibly quiet disposition, a smile that remains imprinted on one's consciousness. Norma joined the National Steering Committee in 2015 and brought to the table her knowledge of climate change at the national and regional levels. At NSC meetings, her questions were probing, but never statements of profound knowing. And in these questions and statements, there were transfers of kindness and empowerment, with contributions replete with nuggets of information. For her quiet and determined support to the spirit and operations of the small grants projects programs in St. Lucia, and for 6 years of service, the GEF SGP UNDP St. Lucia Country Program presents this citation with grateful appreciation to Norma Sherry Favrier on this, the 6th day of July, 2023. Rosemary Husbands Mathering. For a thinking rose that ever smiles in all kinds of weather, whose presence lightens the difficulties of decision-making. For one who consistently emphasized the GEF's principle of transparency and whose insights stimulated greater reflection. And for 6 years of dedicated service to the spirit and operations of the Small Grants Program in St. Lucia, the GEF SGP UNDP St. Lucia Country Program presents this citation with grateful appreciation to Rosemary Husbands Mathre on this, the 6th day of July, 2023. You get it? Evaristus Jean-Marie. A deep thinker, an analyst par excellence, never quick to speak, and therefore seldom commits the follies of those who hear but do not understand. His contribution over 6 years was in the business department, and during his tenure, the number of sound livelihood projects grew significantly. For his sound and steadfast commitment to the poor and marginalized, and for his humble yet wise contributions to the spirit and operations of the Small Grants Program in St. Lucia, the GEF SGP UNDP St. Lucia Country Program presents this citation with grateful appreciation to Evaristus Jean-Marie on this, the 6th day of July, 2023.
Let's have, ladies and gentlemen, for all of the recipients. This is the beauty of the Small Grants Program, and one of the beautiful things about the program. The members of the National Steering Committee volunteer their services. They don't get 1 red cent. Okay? Yet we meet on average how often, Jazz? Once a month? Twice a month, we go on field trips, we interact with communities and so on. And the joy that we get from I know I speak for all of us, from doing this is just unsurpassed. So thank you for the opportunity to serve, and let's once again congratulate our friends. Right, so, sir, I see you, you have your equipment all set up. Can you come and introduce yourself to us, please? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Michael Fletcher. I'm 16 years old, and I am a violinist hailing from the People's Republic of Labrie. Please permit me this morning. We had a slight bit of a technical difficulty with my phone. However, the song that I'd like to share with you is I Love This Land Where I Was Born. And I think this song really represents how I, as a young person, can feel because of the efforts of the likes of Sir Giles Romulus and the rest. So, thank you very much.
Well, he's a musician, but you can tell where he's going, right? with that Barry White voice. I mean, you know, I'm never going to give you up. Yeah. Do you think so? From the People's Republic of Labrie. Do you have an agent, sir? You do? Man is well set up. You know, I was trying to get into the action there because this fella is going to go places. Mr. Fletcher, I congratulate you. Well done. Keep the focus. You know, keep growing. You're on the right track. All right, from Labrie to Juilliard. Yeah, from Labrie to Juilliard. That's your dream, right? Indeed. All right. Thank you very much. Right. Moving along, we have gained some time, but we're still a little behind. I now want to invite Ms. Limia El Tayeb, who is the resident representative for UNDP Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, to deliver a message to us. It will be done via video.
Can I get a sound check?
Can you please try now?
Okay, so I'm assuming you can hear me. I can't hear you. I just wanted to zoom in this afternoon, this morning, to join you. And I'm really, really happy I did. I mean, wow, youth, this violinist is just amazing. Bravo. But also an opportunity to congratulate everyone in the room. Congratulate the government of St. Lucia. I know there are ministers, PSs, and colleagues in the room. Congratulate the National Steering Committee. Wow, what a set of contributors and volunteers at that. And to congratulate Giles and the team, Stephanie and everybody else working with them. But most of all, to congratulate the people of St. Lucia, all the farmers, all of those working in apiculture, all of those working in fishing and aquaculture, all of those that we work with in terms of solar devices, in terms of technology and science, to come up with these brilliant ideas. I congratulate all of you, because this report that Giles presented is amazing. And it could not have been done without the collaboration and this broad partnership across all of society, from the top of government to every fisherman and fisherwoman, to every person working with bees, to every single farmer or fruit planter or scientist. This broad partnership is something that brings a lot of warmth to my heart. This is what development is truly about, and you have demonstrated it on the ground, not only in terms of how you work, but also on terms of impactful projects. So congratulations to all of you. My task is very simple. On the 11th anniversary of the Small Grants Program, of the collaboration between UNDP, SGP, and the Global Environmental Fund with the government and people of St. Lucia, I am really proud and honored to be part of this process and congratulate you on the results. I think for me, one of the most interesting things that you have been able to accomplish in St. Lucia is to not have individualized projects that are small and standalone, but to have the strategic vision to use every grant to build on the one before it, and to use those building blocks to reach larger goals, to use those individual projects into what I call a portfolio approach and which Giles calls a landscape approach. And that is the essence of real development. That is the essence of where we need to be today, because all of our issues are interconnected and you need holistic approaches. You cannot deal with climate change alone. You cannot deal with the livelihoods of our citizens alone. You cannot deal with biodiversity alone. You cannot deal with the business sector and SMEs alone. But having that strategic vision of bringing the pieces together, but not only that, because it's a small grant program, you can't put things to scale from the beginning. You have to leverage and then scale up and then scale up some more. So really congratulations from my side. I love the way science has been integrated and learning has been integrated and research has been integrated and innovation has been integrated. I'm really proud of the adaptive and agile approach that has been used in the St. Lucia Small Grants Program. I applaud all of you, even though Giles and Stephanie are at the center of it, but it's really the broad partnership, the collaboration that makes this happen. Let me mention in particular what has been happening with the Apiculture chain. Let me also mention the Mancote Apiculture Research and Learning Institute. This is an endeavor that should be applauded and encouraged, and we stand firmly behind it. And I think I cannot not mention the fish aggregating device, the FAD, that actually won a prize in Dubai 2023 Expo Innovation Show. The Goodwill Fishers Cooperative, the Invictus, and the GEF Small Grant Program, a partnership that managed to be highlighted in one of the largest platforms and stages in the world. The Dubai Expo is something that we all look to see new innovation, to understand where businesses are going and what new things are being brought to the table. And I'm really proud to be associated with that as SGP, as UNDP, as the Global Environment Fund. I will stop there, but there is a lot to congratulate you on. I wish I could have been in the room with you. I am coming to St. Lucia very soon, in a week or two this month. And I do hope that I will have the opportunity to meet all of you and to visit the projects. But in the meantime, I wanted to make sure that I really congratulate everyone in the room and also congratulate you on this 11th anniversary. So thank you, and back to you.
Many thanks, Madam Resident Representative. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the launch of the publication on research and innovation. And for that purpose, I call to the microphone our Chairman, Member Charles.
Thank you very much, Cletus. This is essentially a very symbolic gesture. A few years ago, GEF launched this publication. It is really the proceedings of the People's Parliament, which is part of the knowledge fair that is produced by the local program. It has been distributed to a few individuals and institutions, but we have not made it public. So today we just will be making two symbolic presentations as a gesture of launching. By way of its content, it covers a number of areas, particularly the leading thinkers in some of these areas: education, medicine, agriculture, ICT, and of course, business. And some of the individuals who had contributed to this publication include the likes of some of our luminaries overseas, like Dr. Kito Lorenzen, young Dr. Parry Husbands, our local environmentalists like Jean-Pierre, Laurent Jean-Pierre. Of course, our esteemed Chairman Cletus Springer has shared some thoughts with us as well, and also Dame Calliope Paulette Louisi. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will first invite our Minister for Education and Sustainable Development to receive a copy of the publication Towards Integrating Research and Innovation into Sustainable Development Processes in St. Lucia. Mr. Minister. I guess I must button my jacket. Let's see first.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he has to declare it's not government property. Because he wants to take it home to read. The other presentation is to Ms. Kejiana Toussaint to represent our grantees and partners. Pardon? Senator, my apologies. Thank you very much. Mr. Springer.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And I'm hoping that this report will be read by all and sundry, especially those in the academic community, those in the scientific community. I think it's an excellent report. It's a pleasure being part of the event. So we now want to get to the meat of the matter, and there have been several meats in our matter today, and that is the presentation of the feature address by the Honorable Sean Edward, who is the Minister for Education, Science and Technology, Sustainable Development, etc., etc. Minister, you have the podium.
Thank you very much, Cletus Springer, Master of Ceremonies. The Prime Minister has asked me to issue an apology on his behalf. Currently, he's in Trinidad, where I should have been this morning with him at the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting. But regional air transportation issues meant that I could not have left in time to be in Trinidad with the Prime Minister to do what I was summoned to do in Trinidad. Nevertheless, I'm happy to be here to present on his behalf. It has become habitual of me to use truncated versions of protocols as established, and this morning I can't resist but to do it once again by acknowledging the presence of Governor General Emerita. Is that correct? Very well. I've been chided before by Dame when I did not get it right. Dame Paulette Louisi, the Honorable Joachim Henry, Minister responsible for equity, social transformation, etc. Senator Kejiana Toussaint, who is in a different capacity this morning. Permit me to acknowledge her presence. His Grace Archbishop, Reverend Gabriel Malze. I will not make the mistake of those who came before me. President of the SDA Mission, Pastor Roger Stephen, a friend of mine. Or should I say he was a friend of mine. UNDP staff, Ambassador Chen, Giles and his team from GEF, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I must recognize and acknowledge the presence of Dr. Cheryl Remy, who kept me in check many, many years ago when I was a student of hers at the Division of Teacher Education and Educational Administration, what we called Teachers College at the Sir Louis Community College. It is a pleasure and also an honor to join you here today in celebrating this momentous occasion with the GEF UNDP Small Grants Program And also a pleasure being here with members of the local steering committee. This is important. Such a significant milestone must be acknowledged and applauded, for without the funding support from the GEF SGP, many St. Lucians would not have been able to make such telling contributions to the development of their communities. Now in its 11th year of operations, the GEF SGP UNDP has established itself as a strong pillar in St. Lucia's financing landscape, one whose impact extends beyond our local communities and our national shores. Invictus's recent win at the Dubai International Expo strongly confirms this. GEF SGP should be extremely proud for recognizing and nurturing such talent. You have solidified the program as a true beacon of hope for our rural communities, vulnerable population, and marginalized persons through strong financial and technical support. In the year 2013, the GEF SGP formally opened its doors with 5 grantees recognized during the launch. Not only did this underscore the existing need for such a program back then, but it also signaled the instrumental role that the program would eventually play in St. Lucia's financing architecture. 10 years and over 100 projects later, with a complement of only 2 staff members, the critical role and transformative impact of the program, which spans several communities, cannot be denied or minimized, as financing remains a persistent challenge to St. Lucia's national development. Of course, we know this is true for many, if not all, small island developing states. It would be remiss of me to not say a special thank you to the Global Environment Facility, GEF, for the financial support it has provided to St. Lucia over the last decade, without which few of the achievements to date under the program would have been possible. Notwithstanding the multiplicity of challenges facing our island, we have boldly committed to pursuing a path of sustainable development which will ensure that we put St. Lucians first. We have signed onto several multilateral environmental agreements, such as the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or the UNFCCC, the United Nations Convention on Biodiversity, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, all in an effort to combat climate change, prevent and reverse biodiversity loss, and protect our lands by mitigating the impacts of land degradation. Within the last 10 years, St. Lucia also committed to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, thereby agreeing to a global challenge with an action plan that puts people, planet, and prosperity at the heart of national development. With these commitments, government has made a deliberate effort to move towards implementing integrated programs, those that target multiple sectors and result in impactful and transformational change for our citizens. We can now say that through these national programs, more St. Lucians have access to better healthcare, education, decent work, and more resilient communities. However, we also know that climate change, biodiversity loss, and land degradation are 3 of the main environmental challenges that are constantly threatening to undo many of our gains. The recent occurrence of the Corinth flash flood, passage of Tropical Storm Brett, and the ravaging effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, I am most certain still remain fresh and very vivid in all our minds, not to mention the debilitating impact they've had on some sectors of our economy. The untold damage to property and infrastructure, loss of lives and livelihoods experienced over the years from extreme weather events, coupled with increased unemployment experienced during the pandemic, will forever be etched in our memories. Though the full extent of direct and indirect impacts of the pandemic will never be truly determined, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, our people have shown themselves to be truly resilient, with a strong will and determination to propel themselves forward despite our ever-rising challenges and setbacks as a small country. Indeed, it is through the continued and evolving support of critical programs such as the GEF SGP that we can get ahead of these social and environmental problems. And I think it was Cletus this morning who alluded to the crime scourge and how that can adversely impact other aspects of national development. The need for a holistic approach with strong leadership, active participation at all levels of society, including the private or business sector, non-government agencies, community organizations, academia, the youth and vulnerable groups, cannot be overemphasized in this process. We must redouble our efforts to reach those affected and those who are vulnerable in our society. We must support local action and innovation, work to build and strengthen capacities, and we must always, at every opportunity, share knowledge when that is possible. Regular monitoring and evaluation of project impact and benefits must be an imperative at every juncture of programming. We need to constantly rebalance our relationship with nature and the environment. Having said all of that, let me assure you that our government will continue to take the necessary steps and actions to move forward along the path of sustainable development for St. Lucia. Ours is an administration that has an appreciation for the natural environment and how it can impact livelihoods and also impact the economic survival of our country. Our small and fragile economic base has made us appreciate the interconnectedness of all key areas, and we have therefore committed to leveraging our natural assets in a sustainable manner that will enhance our national development as a country. Testament to this commitment is St. Lucia's recently approved 2023 to 2024 national budget, which elaborates a program of inclusive national development that aims to build economic, social, and environmental resilience. The program aims to accomplish this by targeting strategic development pillars with particular emphasis on key areas of agriculture, tourism, infrastructure, health, education, and citizen security, and cross-cutting thematic areas of disaster risk management, resilience and sustainable development, productivity and economic competitiveness, and gender mainstreaming and social protection. We all know that sustainable development does not happen in isolation, nor is it achieved overnight. It takes time and it takes a lot of convincing to get the national population to buy into the programs being designed and rolled out by the experts and the technocrats who have been charged with the responsibility of underscoring that critical aspect of our development as a people. It therefore requires an integrated and collective effort, a whole-of-society approach which is strongly anchored on a robust national development framework with sector plans and strategies from which all projects and programs must be formulated or derived. In other words, there must be collaboration amongst critical agencies of national development. There must be buy-in. There must be cross-agency engagements so that everybody can be pulling in the same direction for the good of our country. I feel reassured that St. Lucia's national development is on the right path for sustained growth, underpinned by several key national planning documents, including, but not limited to, the Climate Change Adaptation Policy, the National Adaptation Plan prioritizing adaptation measures for 8 key sectors or areas, with 4 sectoral adaptation strategies and action plans in water, agriculture, and resilient ecosystems. A private sector engagement strategy which aims to stimulate a more informed and involved private sector that will actively contribute to meeting St. Lucia's adaptation priorities. A nationally determined contribution document which seeks to achieve a 7% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in the energy sector by the year 2030, relative to 2010, targeting electricity generation and the transportation sector. A national ocean policy and strategic action plan, a national biodiversity strategy and action plan, a national energy transition strategy, and a recently cabinet-approved marine litter management action plan, which we in sustainable development call the MLMAP, and the climate change research policy and strategy. These plans and policies, among others, not specifically referenced here today, all speak to building St. Lucia's resilience and adaptive capacity, a prerequisite for sustainable national development. I am therefore encouraged to learn that the country program strategy which guides the work of the GEF SGP is strongly aligned with many of our national planning and development policies, along with various other global priorities, including GEF focal areas of biodiversity, climate change, chemicals and waste, international waters, and land degradation. In addition, the country program strategy shows strong alignment with regional policies espoused at the levels of the OECS and CARICOM. The evidence is clear. Global challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic and climate change are increasingly disrupting lives and livelihoods and on an unprecedented scale. Our responses to these must therefore be swift, global, and coordinated if we are to make any meaningful attempts to get ahead of the threats and challenges derived from those. In this respect, I am making a strong appeal to the SGP and other funding agencies such as the St. Lucia National Conservation Fund to make full use of such institutions to build your institutional capacity, explore and maximize synergies, and leverage co-funding support and technical expertise. If there is one lesson that the past decade has shown us, is that inclusive, sustainable development cannot happen in silos. It must be integrated and deliberate approach with deliberate approach with involvement at all levels of society, from government agencies to the private sector to civil society organizations, community groups, academia, and the youth. We all have a responsibility to work together to build resilient communities which can drive sustained growth and development that improves the quality of life of our people. And that is the mandate of any government agency, to improve the lot of the average person whom we serve, irrespective of which department of government we are from, or whether we work in the private sector or we are just members of civil society organizations. In that same vein, we must encourage public-private partnerships. I therefore call on our business community to actively support innovation and technological initiatives that move away from an extractive to a more regenerative green economy. Let us encourage with deliberateness projects that promote replication and scalability and integrate nature and the environment as an imperative. In other words, projects that would not put us at variance with the natural environment. And this is more critical for us as small island developing states than it would be for the larger countries that have alternatives to the mega resources that we have to rely on. In closing, I wish to congratulate the GEF SGP, along with the National Steering Committee, for the tremendous contribution it has made to community empowerment, local innovation, and St. Lucia's overall national development landscape since it was launched in the year 2013. I call on the SGP to remain dynamic and responsive to the environmental, social, and economic needs of our country, St. Lucia. Finally, I wish to pledge our government's commitment to continue supporting the work of the GEF SGP through future GEF funding replenishments. And I'm hoping that at the next presentation, that's not part of the script that was handed to me, that when Mr. Romulus projects his map of St. Lucia, we will see Dennery being featured more prominently in terms of the rollout of projects. I know GEF is predicated on equity, and GEF is very sensitive to the plight of people, particularly those from rural St. Lucia, who have a lot of challenges to deal with. And I speak from a position of knowledge and information, having been the parliamentary representative of a rural community for the better part of 11, 12 years. Thank you very much, and we must commend Jeff. And the point has been made before that when you peruse the estimates of expenditure and revenue, there are so many different funding sources. You see loans, grants, and the lexicon has changed over time to include more fancy finance language. But I always paid very close attention to what was in the department or the Ministry of Sustainable Development, even during the time of Dr. Fletcher. And I can tell you at least 90% of the capital expenditure in the Department of Sustainable Development comes from grant funding. And if that can replicate itself across other ministries and agencies, St. Lucia will be a better place for it. Because as we speak, we have a serious debt challenge on our hands. And in the case of the GEF, this is grant. We don't have to pay back. We are not borrowing. Money is available. And the point that was made this morning that has resonated with me ever since it was made is that, and it probably wasn't couched that way, that in communities where you have strong community-based organizations, there's so much more that is being achieved in those communities. And therefore, it calls for that collaboration between agencies of government to go in there, strengthen the mothers and fathers groups, the community development groups, the sports clubs, the churches, etc. Every facet of society is being touched, and there's an avenue for you to infiltrate the GEF to roll out programs that can benefit the communities in which you serve and even where you reside. So, Mr. Romulus, on behalf of the government, on behalf of the Prime Minister, thank you so very much for all you have done, and there's so much more to be done, and we look forward to working with you and your team. And as I said, with all seriousness, I hope when you populate that map of St. Lucia, we will see the East Coast being featured more prominently, more than what we would have seen from Praling a few years ago. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Minister. And Giles, just let me clarify. The charge that the Minister gave you is not to populate St. Lucia. It's to populate the map of St. Lucia. That's very, very important. So, Minister, I want to say that 8 million US, if you can pledge that 8 million US, Minister, I can pledge to do all that I can within the steering committee to ensure that Denry, Mabua, Maibua Valley, and so on gets projects commensurate with that investment, Minister. Hand on heart. Hand on heart, Minister, I give you that pledge. Okay. So before we invite Stephanie to present the vote of thanks, I have, with Giles's permission, I want to call Chairman Charles to join me, make a presentation of the report to Minister Joachim Henry. Mr. Henry, did you join us? Yes, he's there. Yeah. One to Ambassador Peter Chen. Another possible source of and we need one more, Giles. One to Archbishop Gabriel Malzer. We're just winging it here, so forgive me. And this one to Pastor Stephen. So we have tried to be equitable in our distribution. We've given to the politicians, to the men of faith, and to the man in between. Stephanie Peter is the Senior Program Assistant with the GEF office, and I now want to invite her to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Springer. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please allow me to adopt the protocol already established. It is my honor and privilege to stand before you today on behalf of the GEF SGP UNDP St. Lucia program to express our deepest gratitude and extend a heartfelt thank you for gracing us with your presence at this remarkable event. First and foremost, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the Honorable Minister Sean Edward for taking the time to deliver the feature address on behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister. Your profound words have undoubtedly left an indelible impact on all of us, inspiring us to continue to strive for greatness and embrace new possibilities. We would like to express our heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed speakers, Mr. Ember Charles, NSC Chair, for his warm welcome address, Mr. Giles Romulus, the National Coordinator, for presenting the annual report and leading an intellectual discourse, and our resident rep, Ms. Limia El Tayeb, for her enlightening speech, which we hope will foster and encourage an environment of collaboration and growth for our country. I would also like to congratulate our grantees who are recognized for their outstanding leadership in the various organizations. I do hope that this will motivate other organizations to strive to reach and surpass their full potential. To our outgoing NSC members, thank you for your unwavering commitment and belief in the vision of the SGP program. We do hope to maintain collaboration with you in different capacities. A special welcome to our new NSC members, Dr. Cheryl Remy and Mr. Stephen King. Dr. Stephen King, We have no doubt that your presence and expertise will add value to our NSC. They are joining our team following the end of tours of duty of NSC members, Dr. Rosemary Husbands and Mr. Everistus Jamari. Our sincere thanks to you for your service. In addition, we extend our gratitude to the CYEN project team. They are outside tirelessly ensuring that everything is running smoothly, so I don't see any of them here right now, but round of applause for them, please. Their hard work, dedication, and professionalism have been indispensable, and we congratulate them on a job well done. Last but not least, I would like to express our deepest thanks to each and every participant who has taken the time to join us here today in person and virtually. Your presence and active engagement have truly made this event a vibrant and enriching experience. In conclusion, today marks a momentous occasion for not just the SGP program, but all our partners and stakeholders. Without the collective efforts, the success and milestones achieved would not have been possible. We sincerely thank you for your unwavering support. Let us carry the inspiration and knowledge we can gain from each other to continue creating positive impacts in our respective fields. Together, let us continue to strive for excellence, push boundaries, and create future of innovation. Our work is not only defined by the numbers of projects we have supported, but on the impact on numerous individuals and communities throughout the island. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Stephanie. And thanks as well to our friends from the GIS and Mr. Richmond Felix for the IT support that we received today. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of today's ceremony. I want to thank you so very much for your presence today. We are back on track in terms of the closure. I did promise you, that we'd bring it back on track. So, in fact, we're 5 minutes ahead of schedule. So we want to do a few photographs with the recipients of awards today, with you, Minister, and Dame, and